just show a reaction. Yeah, raise your hand. It's also good. Third year, I see many of you are from third year. Awesome. So we have 7 people third year. What about fourth year? Anyone from fourth year? Okay. Let's go to second year students. Few. What about first year? Again, few. So I don't, I don't know what about the rest of you. Like I saw the most of the votes were from third year guys. So it's great to see all of you here. I believe the remaining, like around 10 people are there. So there's a mixed crowd for sure. And majority of you might already be, trying to get yourself familiar with the cybersecurity. So I believe like at least all of you have some idea about cybersecurity. Please raise your hand if you have already tried something in cybersecurity. So just put that, yeah, that raise your hands. I need 10 more votes. What about the remaining folks? You have you not done anything in cybersecurity yet? Okay. So you see, first of all, like this session, like we can begin with the session. I already got to know a few of the responses from you guys, and few of you might be confused right now, and maybe exploring the cybersecurity as one of the new things in your career, as well as what your interest areas are. So you might be exploring. So that's not a problem. Rahul, can you put yourself on mute? Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so let's get started. See, when it comes to cybersecurity, we are talking about various fields in cybersecurity. So we have multiple, cybersecurity careers and multiple fields to explore in cybersecurity. You might have already gone through lot many, topics, lot many areas of interest, lot many skill set which might be required when it comes to, excelling your career in cybersecurity. So I don't know how many of you are already, looking for jobs in cybersecurity. You would have seen multiple opportunities like application security engineer will be there, red team engineer will be there. There will be SOC analyst, there will be threat researcher, DFIR, malware analyst, right? So there are lot many options to pursue in cybersecurity, and there will be for sure a confusion for you to understand where to get started with. So that's what like I wanted to get started with the MITRE attack framework topic today, because this is where which will give you the realistic idea into what are the things going on, what are the real world impact scenarios. Okay, so let me quickly first share my screen. Okay, so I hope you are able to see my screen.
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
Awesome. Okay. So, first of all, I'll tell you why I chose this topic of covering MITRE attack framework with you guys today. Many of you might not have already tried this out, and it is very common for even professionals also to not be, directly familiar with it. They might have used it, but getting the whole depth of understanding and in the beginning, like trying to understand this MITRE attack framework can be something not very common among even the security professionals as well. So the reason why I chose this framework is to give you the real life idea of what is happening around in the cybersecurity world. What are the trends that you see? What are the attack scenarios you see? Like what exact impact can the cyber attacks can have on the individuals or organization, right? So when we talk about any impact of cyber security, it can be in two categories. One can be impact of a cyber crime. So you would have seen there are multiple cyber crimes like phishing scenarios, phishing emails are there, phishing attachments are there, some clicking on links, even through mobile SMS. So you will see from that perspective there are some attacks which can be applicable to individuals, right, as well as organization. And the second aspect comes as the purely something which is related to the organization or the enterprise level. So when we talk about the enterprise level, you will see like you on a day to day basis, if you have if you have read any blogs which are related to latest data breaches, maybe, right, latest ransomware attacks. So you will see on a day to day basis there are so many occurrences of such cyber attacks. So if you have if you follow a few of these a few of these news articles, you will see like every day there is one or other data breach which is happening. Every day there is one or other vulnerability which is found in commonly used softwares or any platforms which you are using. Even the android phone or the iOS phone, if you are using that also, you will see on a day to day basis there are multiple attacks which are targeting such platforms or devices where there is multiple user base, so that it can increase the customer impact, right? So if you are not already following such articles, I will first of all recommend you to follow such articles. Like I am giving one of the references to you here. And there are more things like we also share in the community group, like anything which is coming up, latest attacks which are coming up, any latest cyber crime which is coming up, any data breaches which happened, or even any vulnerabilities which are found in any application, right? So when we talk about applications or commonly used platforms, so you would if you are using Instagram, if you are using Facebook or WhatsApp, so and even like smartphones you are using on a day to day basis, so that can be considered as a very good target for cyber criminals, because many users are there, so anything they can gain from these cyber attacks. Let's say there's a financial motivation, or there is something of a some intentionally they are trying to do this to damage the reputation of one or other firm. So there can be different motivations of the cyber criminals to target an organization or a victim, right? So any devices you are using, any platforms you are using, or even like let's say since you are students right now, you might be using GitHub repository as well to make any projects or save any projects, right? And maybe you are using Canva for designing. So lot many things you are also using as currently for your studies, and even the professionals can tend to use these platform. So anywhere the cyber criminal can figure out way of exploiting or way of infiltrating, basically way of getting initial access into an environment or into a platform, they will for sure target it and try to exploit it and impact to millions of users or billions of users who are onboarded onto those platforms. Okay, so these are few attacks which you will be reading over here. Like if you go to this website, let's say in the if you go to the news, you can see latest there is a Broadcom fixes VMware zero day exploit. So there are so many terms, like many of you might also not be already aware of things like the terminologies which are used in day to day cyber crime or cyber attack news. Like zero days are there. So zero day is something which is not known already, and that is exploited in any platform which is widely used. Then there are some zero click attacks. So you won't even know that what happened, you didn't click anything, the data could be gone from your device, or some banking transaction could be done from your device. So there can be different scenarios. Recently there was a zero click attack for WhatsApp as well, which was called out. And there was a zero click attack for Outlook office emails also. So if you just open the email, it will run the zero click exploit, and it will compromise the account, right? So there are so many intricacies which are involved when it comes to the real world implication of cybersecurity. And these can be completely seen with the help of these news. If you keep on monitoring these news, you will get to know what is the impact which is exactly happening gaps in the cybersecurity implementation in any system, be it platform, be it devices, or be it on an individual level. So that's why, first of all, I want to recommend that you should get yourself familiar with these terminologies, and to understand what is the day-to-day cyber attacks which are happening, cyber trends which are being followed by cyber criminals. And that will help you in being aware of what is going on, and try to think what could be the solution, and think how it can be prevented, right? How people can save themselves, as well as organization at an organization level, how how the employees can save themselves or protect themselves. So this is one of the main requirements which you should think of when it comes to these when it comes to the MITRE attack framework, right? So this MITRE attack framework is basically having, it is a bible of cybersecurity.
Ma'am, I guess there's a mic issue, voice issue. Are you guys facing some voice issue by the way?
You see
Hello.
in these.
হ্যাঁ, হ্যাঁ, ভয়েস ইস্যু হচ্ছে।
Okay, yeah, yeah. I mean, ma'am, there
Okay.
is some voice issue. Yeah.
How when did you lose me, like where, at what point?
Probably 3 to 4 minutes before. Yeah. Yeah. Connection is still trying.
Okay. Okay. Let me see, like I don't know why it is happening, but are you able to hear me now?
Yes, ma'am. You're
It's
audible now.
fine now.
Now it is fine, right? Okay, in case you again face any issues, you can let me know. But yeah, like the signal seems fine on my end, so not sure. But yeah, let me just stop me when you again face that disturbance, okay, or face the breaking of voice.
Sure, ma'am.
Okay, so yeah, what I was I'll just repeat the last part and summarize what I have said so far. So, main crux is reading these blogs, understanding the latest cyber attacks which are happening, understanding the latest cyber crimes which are evolving, right? And trying to think what could be the attack technique, what could be the hacker's mindset. When these attacks are these are successfully carried out, what could be the hacker's mindset? What are the different phases which the hacker could have thought of when they try to make this attack successful? So that is the critical thinking you should develop. So as a security researcher or a security aspirant, you should get yourself in a regular practice of reading what is going around, what are the cyber attacks which are happening either on organization or at the individual level. Okay, so these are few blogs, and any terminologies like 0 days, zero click, vulnerabilities, CVs, right? These are some of the keywords which you should also keep in mind, and just get yourself familiarized once, and understand like what are they exactly, what is the significance of these terms when it comes to any such incident. Okay, so when we talk about these ransomware attacks or data breaches, we term these as incident. So incident is anything which is confirmed that it had some security impact and it actually happened in the organization or at an individual level. And any event which is happening, right, it It can be an incident or it
Um,
cannot be an
Ma'am,
incident.
I guess there's an issue again. Hello,
Yeah, Rahul. Okay. Okay,
guys.
let
Is it
me
audible to you, people? It's not audible for me.
rejoin. Let me rejoin. Okay.
मेरी वॉइस आ रही है वैसे तुम लोगों को? आई होप मेरी तरफ से कोई इशू नहीं है। हेलो।
नहीं 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 नहीं
हाँ भैया आ रही है
आ
आ
रही
रही है।
आ रही।
नहीं नहीं नहीं,
आपका इतना
मुझे
सा
तुम
टैप
लोग की
किया हुआ
वॉइस
है
भी
ना
नहीं आ रही,
शायद
शायद
इसलिए।
मेरी तरफ से कुछ इशू है। जस्ट अ सेकंड गाइस।
अरे अरे ठीक है फर्स्ट टाइम मीट यूज कर रहा लग रहा है ऐसे।
Can you hear me now?
यस मैम यस मैम।
Okay. Okay. So in case you again face any issues, just interrupt me. Okay. So let me start sharing my screen again. Can you see my screen?
यस मैम।
Awesome. Okay. So coming to the MITRE attack framework. MITRE attack framework is a bible of cybersecurity. You can literally get everything over here documented, be it any cyber attack like the ones which you read on these day-to-day blogs, or be it the techniques which are used by the attacker in order to carry out a like successful or unsuccessful cyber attack on organization enterprise level, or can relate it to any system. So MITRE attack framework is having a lot of use, especially when it comes to cybersecurity professional profiles like red teaming, or SOC analysis, or threat research, as well as DFIR. Okay, so this is considered as the go-to resource for, especially for these professionals. Definitely these can be applied in generic application security as well, but mostly it is dealing with the red teaming, SOC analyst, threat research, and the DFIR roles. Okay, so here, if you can see, we under the here, if you can just go to my attacks.mitre.org. So under the metrics, you can see there are different categories of frameworks they have defined. One is for enterprise, one is for mobile, and third one is for ICS. Right. So when we say enterprise, enterprise is any organization, any IT organization, let's say Amazon.com, Microsoft.com. So how normally the organization looks like, and what are the attack techniques that might apply to those organizations. Okay, then second part is the mobile based attack techniques which can be there. So when an attacker is targeting mobile, there can be some differences as compared to usual enterprise network. So that is where there can be some differences, and that can be seen using the framework details. Then the third one is ICS. ICS, when we talk about ICS, it's industrial control systems. So how if you have heard about OT, operational technology, where let's say electrical substations, or maybe somewhere you are using for power grid, right? So there can be multiple such systems which can come under ICS. So there is a slight difference as compared to IT industry, because there are some IoT devices also, there are microcontrollers also, PLC devices, right? And there are some hardware components also involved. So that's why there is slight difference again, but definitely all these categories will have some overlap among themselves. And given that everything is working on technology, you can relate, once you understand one category, you will be able to relate it to the other category as well. Most of the techniques will remain similar. There can be slight variations based on the type of platform, or based on the type of system which is used. Okay. So here, when it comes to the MITRE attack framework, let's choose the enterprise framework here. So as you can see, let's go to the tactics. So let's go to the tactics here. So many of you already would have heard about the phases which the attack progression can be divided into, right? So let me give you a graphical representation for same. So there is a term called cyber kill chain. So cyber kill chain was especially, it is a representation of how the attack progresses. What are the different stages which can be divided, which can be used to divide the entire attack progression, and how the attacker can think of, in terms of strategy which is it is defining to finally deliver some malicious payload into the organization and finally getting its objective which it was targeting for. Okay, so here you can see there are 7 phases. If you see over here, the first stage is reconnaissance. Okay, so if you take a simple analogy of a cyber attack versus a general like in person robbery scenario. So maybe you can consider, imagine that there's a thief, and if they want to rob your house, in that scenario they will understand what are the situations, what are the situations in which they might be successful to get into the house and steal the stuff, right? So in order to do that, they will first understand the surroundings of your house. They will try to figure out what are the timings you might be in the house, or what are the timings you normally go to college or office, right? So they will try to understand all that aspect, and they will then also see like what are the security controls, maybe some safety controls like locks could be there in the house, right? Maybe there can be some alerting mechanism can be there. So they will also try to figure out what are the ways in which the house is protected, right? So that part is, in simple terms, can be termed as reconnaissance. So when it comes to cyber attack on an organization, as a hacker, if you think, they will consider, what are the ways in which the organization is protected, what are the resources it is exposing, what are the public assets it has in the on the internet. So there can be different ways to gather that information. Okay, like getting the email addresses of the employees, if there is any maybe repository, github repository, right, code repository could also be exposed. Understand what are the technologies on which the organization is working. So getting all that information is important before trying to target any particular organization. And these phases we need to understand, not because we are trying to hack something, right? These are the things which we need to understand because if you think from the hacker's perspective, that is only when you will realize like what could be the mitigations, what could be the ways to protect any organization or as an individual, how you can protect yourself, right? So that is why you need to think as from the hacker's point of view in order to mitigate and protect yourself, right? So reconnaissance is first phase. So when it comes to reconnaissance, there can be different method of getting the information, right? So let's take a quick look. So you can map these things in the MITRE attack framework. So the first stage here, see, you see there is a reconnaissance phase. So if you click on this, it will expand the different techniques which are used. So here you can see there is an active scanning technique. So if you would have used nmap in your any of your test, maybe there is a security competitions you might have attended, like ctfs, or if you are trying any bug bounty research on your own, so you might have already done some scanning, right?
Today we
So
had one lab.
right.
Sorry, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
Today we had a like practical session on network security, and we used
Mm-hmm.
Nmap and like a particular IP. So definitely we did that today itself.
Awesome. Yeah, so that's the perfect timing for sure. And
Yeah.
that is where, you are trying to understand what are the network resources. So can can someone, Rahul, apart from you, if someone can give me an answer, what are the results you got from that nmap scan, and how do you think it is useful?
Like, can I give my?
Yeah, Tuhin.
Yeah, so mostly like in nmap scans we do port scanning and services scanning, and through that we detect if there is particular services running, what versions is the service is running. Also, if is it like a good vulnerable thing to attack, or some kind of attack vector is present or not. Um,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah, that sums up a lot of the major things.
yeah,
So in this scenario, like with the help of gathering the information, there can be different tools, there can be different scripts which you can run, or even there can be manual scanning, and manual part you can do by hitting that, maybe if there's a website which you are trying to gather information about, so you can also do it manually, right? So if you go over here under active scanning, by the way, if anyone is following side by side, you can also go to this attack.mitre.org and try and expand the things. And if you have any questions in between, you can ask. It's You don't need to wait for the end of the session. That's okay. Yeah. So I want it to be more interactive, and there should be takeaways for you guys. So that's why, like, I want if you ask as many question and participate, that will add value. Okay. So here, if you go under active scanning, so you see there is a id which is given, it's T1595. So there are some unique ids which are given to each technique, and each technique can have its sub techniques as well. So if you can see over here, there is 001 scanning ip blocks. So what Tuhin and Rahul already mentioned, using nmap you are scanning a particular ip address, or even if it can be a host name which could be given. So you're scanning the IP address in order to, it can be a subnet, right? It can be a range of IPs which you are scanning, or it can be an individual IP which you are scanning. So when it comes to an organization, mostly it is a range of IPs which you will scan because it's assigned to that organization. So you will scan using Nmap and you will get results about which IP is up, whether it is hosting any services or not, whether there are any ports which are open or not. And if you find anything out of that, then you will determine whether they can be vulnerable. Maybe if they are using outdated ftp, simple ftp with anonymous login. So that is something which can be considered based on ports and the services which you get out of the scan. So here, if you see, I expanded active scanning. Under this, I have three sub techniques, which was also listed over here: scanning IP blocks, vulnerability scanning, and word list scanning. Right. So word list scanning is simple, like brute force method of trying to save. Let's say, for an example, here, if I take a simple website, uh, maybe this is not up. Challenges. Okay. Yeah, if you see this simple website, like you see there are different pages, right? There's a home page, there's a about page, gallery page, services, testimonials, right? So when it comes to scanning the target, in this case, for example, you can take the example of a website. Now, any organization, let's say if a hacker is targeting any organization, they will try to understand what are its public resources, and a website can be one of those resources, right? So when we have the website, you if anyone already is familiar with web application security, then you know that there can be vulnerabilities which can be there on the website, which you can try and test for. So based on which you can further maybe gain access into the organization, get a reverse shell. So there can be different next steps ahead, right? So here, like if you see the example of word list scanning, here you can do the directory brute forcing. So there are multiple tools for that as well. So now if you expand under word list scanning, here you can see there are some tools which would be written. Adversaries may iteratively probe the infrastructure, brute forcing and crawling technique. And maybe the tools, yeah, here you can see there are few tools also listed. So Dirbuster, GoBuster, and any custom tools which could also be there, right? So overall, like when it comes to any technique, when you keep on expanding it in MITRE framework, you will get all information about that technique. And you can also, see like how it is related to the specific platform category, right? Let's say if it is a web application which is being targeted, then there will be web application attack. If it is a mobile application which is targeted, you will see details about the mobile application also. So when you give this a read, you will get so much information which will be useful from the red team perspective, as well as from the blue team perspective also. You can get to know what the hacker normally tries to do, which can be blocked. Okay, so red versus blue is like offensive team versus defensive team. Okay, so here you can see more things. Procedures example. So if you see over here, we have ID, name, description, and ID is this is MITRE based ID which is given. Name is APT 441. So let's see this one. This is also interesting. So there are different groups which are assigned. So when you see that there was a let's say there was one of the recent ransomware attack which was on change health. This was change healthcare. So black cat ransomware was attacking that organization called change healthcare. And it followed different techniques. Like I'll try to go through this as time permits. But yeah, it followed different techniques. So this was given a different unique name here, black cat ransomware. And also it had some more synonyms here, AL, PHV, or Nobres. So there are different names which are given to a particular threat actor group. Okay, like here you see dev 20237, dev 0504. So these names you can find it over MITRE as well. So you see there are different groups, and these groups are listed over here. So any threat actor which has tried to attack an organization, mostly as part of the investigation, the incident response responders as well as SOC analysts and sit and analyze if there is a technique which is matching to the known threat actor, and see if they can determine whether who did it, like they can trace it back based on the techniques, right? So those names you can find over here. So you can see APT is advanced persistent threat. So mostly like the later there are some techniques which are used by the latest emerging threat actors. So those are named over here as APTs. And you can see as part of the technique under MITRE, you can see it tells us which group uses such techniques. So each threat actor group can have different ways of doing the attack, right? So they can follow different techniques. There are multiple ways to do the same thing, right? So based on the techniques, there are some differentiating factors which can set apart for each group. Okay, so you can see APT41 leverages various tools to brute force directories on servers. This is a very common one. There can be other attack groups also which might be using it. Okay, so this is one part. Now let's go to the other one. So there are multiple other techniques. If you like after like maybe 15 minutes, we'll take some inputs from you also if you have tried any techniques from the reconnaissance which looks different to which you think is different from what we discussed. Okay, so let's jump on to the next part first. So here coming to the second part of the chain, cyber kill chain. So second part is weaponization. So when it comes to weaponization, what we exactly mean is we now got to know the entire information about an organization, and we now want to take the next step. Okay, we have enumerated the organization well. So here let's say like this was the website which I got to know about the organization, and I want to now get entry point from this website. By hacking into this website, I want to gain initial foothold into the target organization. So that is where the next part will come into picture, which is called weaponization. So now I want to build a payload. I scanned, gathered the information, I got to know there is a vulnerability in this application. So now I want to build a payload so that I can get to the uh, get to the infrastructure or the environment of this organization. So that is the phase where I am trying to build something which can be used as exploit and can give me can give me entry into the network. So this is the weaponization phase, right? Once I have things developed, this is mostly happening on the red in the C2 infrastructure, you can say, or even the attacker controlled server could be distributed over multiple servers. So this is done on the attacker side. Then third part is, once the payload or once the way in which I want to get into the organization is ready, then the third part is how that payload will be delivered, right? So there can be different ways of delivering that payload. Phishing email is pretty common technique where you will see some attachments, and if you haven't already tried to see different malicious attachment or suspicious attachment, I'll definitely recommend you to also go through the spam. If you have a gmail box, then you can just go through the spam emails. You will for sure see some or other mails which look very suspicious and have just one attachment which can be there, or some random link which could be there. So the phishing email is a very frequent way to get into the organization, and unfortunately, even after being so much aware, the employees or the individual fell victim to these phishing emails. Okay, now phishing email can either give malicious attachment which can run on your system, or it can have a link which you click on, and maybe a replica of some maybe, let's say, Facebook, LinkedIn, or your Gmail itself, and basically you are fooled to enter your password over there, which can lead to the compromise. So phishing email can be one way to deliver the malicious payload. Web application can be another way. If this web application is vulnerable, I can send my payload through this application to get into the organization. Okay. Then the third one could be USBs. Like you would have seen some attacks where a USB is inserted into the laptop or computer, and that led to some auto run program from that USB. And with that auto run, the malicious file was installed on the system. Okay, so delivery is the way in which the payload can be sent to the target. Once the payload is sent to the target, then the part comes is exploitation. So once there is, let's say, a virus on your system, then it will exploit. And considering an organization, if there is a malware on the system, it will encrypt the data. Right? If it is just one system, it will try to encrypt the data. The goal can be encryption, and based on that encryption, uh, any like whoever is impacted will have to pay out to the attacker, right? So that is what we call as ransomware. So any malware which when run on the system can encrypt sensitive or very important files, and in order to recover those, the organization normally are they are demanded for ransom. So if there is no backup, many organizations tend to pay the amount as well. However, if there are backups, then it's easy to restore, right? So this will run on the system. So installation is also slightly part of installing further malwares on the asset. So once we have that, then there's a command and control server. So command and control will maintain continuous communication with the victim, because once an attacker catch hold of an organization, they don't want to lose the channel between the organization and themselves. So first they will set up some persistence mechanism. Maybe there can be a backdoor, there can be account a new account which they have created, right? And they can log in anytime. So they will leave some way of persistence so that their access to the organization is not broken once they achieve it, right? And with the persistence they can also continuously communicate with the help of C2 server to maybe if they want to get information from the server, they will use the C2 server for giving instruction and getting back the data. Or if they want to just sit there, spy on it, so that can also be another objective they will achieve, right? So there can be keyloggers that can be installed, for example, or if there's a financial data, it can be taken out from the system, or if they want to encrypt the system, that also will be done, right? So here we have all the phases if you see in the MITRE, which is listed on this side: resource development, initial access, execution, persistence, privilege escalation. In case there you don't have a no admin access, so the attacker will try to uh, br- you know uh, escalate their privilege from a low level user to a high level admin user. Okay, then if there are more systems in the network, right, they will also try to move in that network. So let me show you quick diagram for this. So here normally, like, this is a representation of a red versus blue team. So red team is the offensive team. Basically, there will be some actions which will be the simulation of attack on the environment, and blue team will try to determine, if there's any attack which is happening in the organization and prevent it or block it. Okay, so here it all starts. Like, entry point can be anything. Here you can see it is from internet. Now it can be from internet as well as it can be from your own network. Let's say if you are sitting in college, there's a private network for the college, wi-fi, which it might be connected with the wi-fi. So it can be any other entry point as well. Now here there can be different publicly exposed services from the organization. Like, you have web server over here, just the same thing, similar thing which we observed over here. There is a website, or there can be a email server. So email is normally exposed for any organization. So for example, you can send an email to my organization, swati@defog.com. So that will be open, right, to allow for public emails. And what if someone is recruiting, right? You would have seen there will be multiple recruiters posting jobs on LinkedIn. Like, you can send your resume to them. So email is normally open for the organization. So there can be chances of phishing email. So, if a vulnerability is exploited either on the web or the email server by sending any phishing email, then they can get further into the network. Now, at an organization level, we have Active Directory. So, Active Directory is basically maintaining a connected network of devices. Let's say there are multiple. If you take the analogy of your college, there can be multiple administration servers, right? There can be multiple classroom servers which can be there, maybe some department specific servers that can be there. So all these servers, or all any lab systems which you normally do your lab activities, so these are all connected with one another. And all the information about your college website, server, users, even you might have a university email as well. So these are all bundled and stored under Active Directory. So with the help of Active Directory, you can authenticate yourself as part of that organization. So if you are having a college email, for example, you can log in with your college email, and that is where the identity will come. And normally it is using Active Directory. And based on that, you will also have access to different resources. So here you can see within the organization. So if you consider your college, there can be workstations in your lab on which you are doing the practical. So that can be Windows or Linux, right? Even your laptops can be there which are connected to the Wi-Fi. Then there can be some database server, which are collecting the information about your college, students, attendance or classes. Anything can be there. Western host you can ignore for now. Then there can be some sensitive just documents about the college, important documents which can be there on the file server. Okay, and printers can be there. So in a generic organization network, uh, all these assets can be there. So when these assets are there and an attacker is able to compromise one asset, they can move across the network. So let's say they got hold of one of the students' laptop, right? Or even one of the lab machines. The lab machine is connected to another one. Maybe the student email can work on logging into another machines also. If someone is able to get hold of your faculty's email, that can also be used for logging into multiple systems, right? So that is called lateral movement. So they can, once they compromise one, they can go to others as well. So this is a simple representation. Okay, so this is the lateral movement which is covered over here. Okay, the other things we have mostly, just give a quick overview about. But yeah, I will just take a pause first for any questions from you guys, and I want to hear like, are you able to relate this? If you have doubts, please ask this. Any questions?
Ma'am, I want to understand weaponization.
Weaponization.
Yes.
Okay. So I will give you a practical example of weaponization first. Okay. So, weaponization in simple definition is preparing the resources which can be used for finally building the exploit and finally exploiting a particular vulnerability in a system or organization. So here, let me show you one demonstration. So this is my web application. I will enumerate this application, understand what this application is doing by visiting all the pages. Let's say I click on home page, about page. It is giving me some details. Gallery page, services are there, testimonial, clients, right? I'll try to understand what it is doing. Now, here I see that take our trial services for free. Okay, this is something. There's some search box over here. Okay, there can be something over here. If I do test, I can try submit this. I see there is a functionality it is doing, and it is giving me this new error message now. File not found. Right. So this is some action it is doing. Then I'll take a note that yeah, this gave me some action. I'll try to scroll through and understand more details. Everything looks more of a static. It looks more of a static content to me. So here there are some text which are there. There are some icons. There's some membership which is here. So if I do buy over here, again it is a static page. Okay. So one thing which, after, like, just to keep it short, after enumerating this website, one thing I got to know was that there's some functionality which is happening based on what input I'm providing over here. So now I'll try to see this, whether it is vulnerable or not. Right. So it seems that there can be some flaw over here. So now I'll try to prepare a payload for it. So in order to prepare a payload, I need to first understand how it is functioning. So just to give you a simple idea, like it is vulnerable to LFI, and that that is called local file inclusion, where I can read any of the system files. Okay. So in order to exploit this, I will have to build some payload, right? So if I do etc password, so you can see it is basically vulnerable to local file inclusion, where it is giving me the system files. So if I change this to proc/version, this will give me another detail. Let's change it over here. Proc. Yeah, it will give me another detail. Let's change it here. You can see that now it is giving me another thing, right? So I understood there's a local file inclusion vulnerability in this website, and now I want to exploit it and make a payload which can help me to get to the next step. So and that next step could be remote code execution, which can give me access to the server. So I will try to think like how I can leverage this local file inclusion to gain access to the server. Now, in order to gain access, there, like if you are able to read a file, then you have to think like from reading a file to gaining access to the server, what all things you might need. So maybe I will try to read the SSH keys, right? There can be some user who is there on the system. So I will try to read if there's any, SSH keys, assuming that most of the standard, like standard Linux system have root user. So I can try to see like I can get the SSH keys for the root user or not. If I can get the SSH keys, I can directly log in into that machine, right? So when I'm doing this part, and I'm trying to construct new ways in which I can get into the machine, I am basically developing resource for myself in order to get into the system. And also, one is getting into the system. Second part is there can be multi-stage payloads. Like one is getting into the system. Second, you can analyze the system from inside, like run some scanner inside the system, or run any credential harvester from the system, which can give you any sensitive details which can lead you to another target. So there are multiple resources as a hacker which are needed to be developed in order to carry out the entire attack successfully. So that is the part where all the resource development happen. And um, like it is coupled with the initial access payload in order to make it workable across all the stages. Okay, so that is weaponization. Awesome. So how many of you actually understood the entire thing, and how many of you are confused? So first, like, I'll take a vote. Like, was it too overwhelming for you? Can you raise your hand if you think that was the case? Okay, any other questions? I believe like if you are able to understand the concepts well, please ask any questions. And for sure, there are more resources which I can share with for this one.
Guys, like if you have any issues or confusion, you can ask to ma'am right now. Okay, so that would be great. Hello, ma'am. Basic AI hacking. Okay, the Panshu is here. Most probably is going to ask something. Yes, the Panshu.
I want to ask about how to bypass Windows Defender because I don't know about it. It is my I know it's out of topic, but they have no idea about it. So I want to.
See, first of all, definitely this is off topic. Second thing, like you shouldn't directly jump into bypassing Windows Defender. First, you have to understand lot many concepts. So this is not something which someone can give you direct answer. There are multiple ways in which Windows Defender is trying to analyze the signature of any maybe there can be malicious file or some behavior they are observing in the system. So there can be different ways in which the detection engine, basically in this case Windows Defender you are asking, but there can be other detection engine like CrowdStrike can be there, Kaspersky can be there, right? So they are detecting the behavior as well as the static files to flag any potential threat, right? So there can be gaps in these detection engines because not all the activities are accounted for. These are running on top of rules which are either based on some certain queries with static keywords, or it is trying to analyze the process behavior, and the process behavior can be like it can have slight variation which can allow you to bypass the detections. However, there's no direct answer right now, but like if you are trying to research on uh, how to bypass Windows Defender, then I will say like you shouldn't focus on bypassing Defender, rather it should be a research to understand the gaps of these systems, right?
Okay, ma'am.
Mm.
Okay, ma'am.
And never ask anyone how to tell me how to bypass Windows Defender. They will
No,
simply
ma'am. There is a issue. I have generated many MSF Venom payloads, and then I try to use them when Defender is on, and it catch.
yeah, it will catch definitely. So MSF Venom, if
Most
you are using,
probably,
right?
you'll have to
Yeah,
add it on inclusions. Like you can use exclusions. Probably that is going to work for you. But there's MSI. I mean, anti-scan malware interface, right? ASMI. So
AMSI,
Yes, yes, yes.
AMSI.
yeah, AMSI, right? Yes, that
AMSI.
is also going.
See, I will tell you like for MSF Venom payloads, almost everything will be detected because that MSF Venom standard payloads have been used and have been tracked since long time. So if you are using standard payloads without any customization or without any custom like multiple round, maybe different rounds of encoding on top of that, it is easy to be very easy to be detected. So you will most likely get detected in almost every single scenario. If you are having a scenario where you want to disable it and do some testing, then in that case, yeah, what Rahul is mentioning, that you can exclude the particular path or the file name. But yeah, if you are doing a gap analysis or something like where you can find possible bypass, it's good if you find, report it, like it's a good research topic.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, so I guess we have some more people. Okay, there's Aman Pandey. Ma'am, you told about some tools like GoBuster or Dirtbuster. Does they protect or secure websites from the red team?
So GoBuster and Dirtbuster is used by Red Team in order to understand the application, in order to dig down into the application. So they are not protecting actually, but as a red teamer, you can use these to understand what are the assets that could be exposed on your application, maybe some web pages which are exposed. So if you run it and then use it for your own feedback, like these are the pages which are exposed, so you should probably protect them from internet. So that is the methodology that can be used by for protecting the website. But in general, GoBuster and Dirtbuster will actually give the information. So it can be for red team to gather the information, or for the attacker to actually attack and target the application. So local file inclusion, yeah, LFI is local file inclusion, and it is a vulnerability. If you see over here, I'll just share my screen again. So this is a common web application vulnerability. It can be seen over here. Let me show you exactly what it is doing. So on a website, I have this payload. Mm, let's see if I can open whiteboard. Just give me one sec. So on my website, I use this payload. Okay. Now, what this payload is doing, it has three parts if you see. One is the base URL, which is challenges.defog.com, right? And here, like it is going to the search page, right? Then we have the URL parameters, which is term as well as sample. So what I did as part of the LFI vulnerability was. This I can forget what is the base URL, because I found that this page could be vulnerable. So let's remove this one. We'll try to understand the payload here. So the payload which I built was, one was passed in the term parameter and the second one was passed in the sample parameter. With the more detailed enumeration, you will realize that term parameter is not vulnerable, but the sample parameter is vulnerable. So I'll just remove this one. Okay, so here you see, now this is the payload which I have constructed. So local file inclusion is basically applicable to a web application which can have some functionality of loading a system file, right? It can be maybe because of feature it is doing. Maybe it as a feature it has to load certain images, certain text file, or even certain PHP or any server side or client side scripting files. So there can be any usage. So in general, why this is used is, like, it in a general use case scenario, it can be something like file.txt. Okay, so maybe index.php. Let's say this is the simple scenario. So normally the website will be using these scenarios wherever it is necessary, like this. But these can be exploited to load any other file from the system. And if I want to load any other file, I can try for system files. Like there are some common files, etc/etc password. Then there are something like let's say root.ssh. So these are the SSH keys for logging into the system. Okay. So there are multiple standard files which I can try out over here. Now if I put it as it is, let's say if I'm putting it over here like this. So in the backend, what might happen is, like, I'll give you a slight idea of how the backend code might look like. So the backend code might look like this. Include, so whatever the parameter I'm passing over here, so it might look like this. Include um, dollar underscore get and sample. So whatever I'm passing in the sample payload, this is that is the file it will try to get and include in the functionality. And here maybe let's say I have given it the current working directory. CWD current working directory is let's say I put it as dot, which is the actual current directory. Okay, so here when I include this, the functionality could be like current working directory path plus what is the path which is supplied from my sample payload. Okay, so if I send it like this /etc password, and if my web application is running in, let's say it is running in where www html, right? So let's say if it is like this. So
By the way, these are Linux directories, okay, which ma'am is using right now. For example, /etc. Ma'am, it would be better if you show them once, like on
yeah,
Linux.
definitely. Hmm.
Yeah.
So this is my one of my Linux machine. So if I show you the Linux version, you can use the various commands are there. You will learn those gradually. So uname -a, you can see this is a Linux machine. So here the directory structure is such, if I do pwd, you can see I am currently in the home EC2 user. Then there can be other directory where www. Right now it is not installed in this one, so I'll show you one more. Yes, sudo docker, yes. Okay, so let's see if I have it here. Okay. Okay, let's take another path example. So this is the actual application which is hosted, which you just saw, this web application. So this is the web application and this is hosted on this particular server. So you are right now seeing the backend of this application. So if you see, this is the path. Currently, all the files are located under user src app. So this is one of the Linux path. So instead of taking the path which I was showing you over here, where www.html, I will show you the exact directory it is running in. So it is running under user src app. So this means there's a user directory at the lowest level, then there's src, then there's app, and here all the files are located, right? So if I ask my application to give me this etc password file. So if you see, there's a etc password file also here. So ls-etc, etc has mostly the system files. Okay, so you can see we have a etc password. Ls command is used for listing the file, right? And if I show you the etc password file, it has some, ls is not found, so let's try cat. It has the user metadata, right, which are the users which are running on the system. So it is a system file basically. So this is located, if you see the etc password file, it is located under the etc directory, right? And the current working path for my application is this one. So if I send etc password file as a sample parameter, the final so sample path which it try to build be slash user slash src slash app. Then it will be concatenated with what I've passed in sample. So it will become like this. You see, this path is not the right one for my password file. etc password, which is the final password. So if I give simply this won't work. It will give me file not found. So if I convert here, I will show you the path. I think I lost my internet. Can you hear me?
Ma'am, I think your voice is lagging.
Okay, one sec. Is it fine now?
Yes, it's fine now.
I
Okay,
thought it's
listen.
my internet. It's issue from my side. Okay, I rejoined.
No, no, actually, I was connected over the phone, but yeah. So here, if you see, if I pass the etc password as the parameter, this is something, this won't give me the result because the path is wrong, right? The path should be starting with slash etc, not under this directory. So this is what we tried to avoid over here, and that's why the final payload which is sent, the final payload, if you see over here, the final payload which I sent was this one. So what it is doing is, it is first, okay, one second, I need to move this. So first I did was, I went back one directory up from what is my current directory. So the double dot, if you see over here, this is me going up one directory. So one directory, if I go up, it will escape the app folder. Then it will be there in the user src folder. Then second dot, double dot again, it will go to user folder. Then third dot will go to slash folder. And these are some extra dots normally I you can put in order to, like in order to go to the bottommost directory in case you do not know the depth of the folder or the current working directory. So this is where it will, now go to the lowest level, and then from there it will find /etc/password. Okay, so that's how your payload is getting constructed. Let me see if I can show you here. Okay, one sec. One sec. So if you see, like if I type the path which is written over here, it will give me the error. So I copy this path /user/src/app ls hyphen la this. So you see it says no such directory. So now in order to read the etc password file, so what I will do, cd one level up. So you see there's single dot, then instead of cd let's do ls hyphen la, one directory up, two directory up, three directory up, and then some extra. Like right now I know it is three directory up, but I'll just show you over here how it looks like. So now I can see the etc folder, and if I do this, you can see now it is visible, right? So that's why, like, how we build that payload for LFI. And LFI can be used for reading some system files. Sensitive file also could be there, maybe something with a credential which can help me log in, or SSH key which can help me log in. So there can be various scenarios. Okay. Yeah, so that explains LFI. And this is a web application
That was a
vulnerability.
great explanation, ma'am. I mean,
Thank
it was
you.
really in
So this is actually, we can, later on we can also cover some session around web application security. And this is just
that
a
would be great.
very short glimpse I've shown you. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
Okay. So Aman, ma'am, does anyone have to be a member of any team that is red or blue team? Means red team also protect the web application. I thought. See, there are in an organization like I think this is a good question, and this will be very good for everyone to understand. So, as a security researcher, there can be different words which you will hear about, anyone who is working on any security research. So you will see there are black hat hackers, there are white hat hackers, there are gray hat hackers. Okay, so when we say white hat hackers, they are actually the ethical hackers. They are doing things for the positive outcome. Black hat are normally like they can be like they can have different other motivations as well. And when it comes to red and blue team, right? Red and blue team are part of the organization, and both of the teams work for the organization. None of the team work against organization, right? And the only the methodology as well as the mindset vary. So red team is mostly trained to do offensive activities, so that they can figure out the gaps in the organization. So it is like they are trying to simulate the adversary, and that will help in determining gaps in the organization, while the blue team is coldly working on how to fix those gaps. So eventually blue and red team are collaborating with one another to improve the security of the organization. They are not the enemy of the organization. So yeah, that's a very that's a misconception. Good that you clarified.
Initially, I also had this confusion regarding red teaming and blue teaming. I always thought
See,
that, okay, yeah,
red team is so much hyped nowadays. Like I don't know, like why it is so intriguing for people to be offensive, but yeah, it is eventually the mindset should be from both angles when you are working and trying to do the good things. So you should have the idea of both, what are the offensive methods, and if there are offensive method, how those can be fixed. So that, let's say, like if you figure out a vulnerability in an application, you report that somewhere as a bug bounty hunter, and then they also ask you what could be the mitigation. So if you don't know the fix, do not break the application. So just keep that in mind, okay?
All right. Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
okay. I think the questions were great, and I liked the interaction with you guys. And will Rahul will plan later on. Will plan some other. Uh,
Definitely, definitely, ma'am.
okay.
Thanks for the great session. I mean, it was really helpful for beginners. I appreciate you covering fundamental topics like red teaming, blue teaming, also CT server, I mean C2 servers. You talked about backdoors. You talked about some other concepts like MITRE attack framework. These are some fundamentals which is required for beginners to learn. And we are really, really happy that you covered these topics. And
Thank
even
you.
local file inclusion. So explanation made these concepts easier to understand. Very honestly. So definitely looking forward to more insightful sessions from you in future. And thank you, ma'am. Thanks for the
Thank
session.
you so much, Rahul. Thank you so much. And yeah, for before just I conclude, I especially wanted for you guys to go through MITRE attack framework and explore that in every detail, because what I covered is just less than even 1%. Okay, there are so many things to go over. So try to make this a practice to go over this MITRE attack framework. What are the details? What are the references that are added in it? And yeah, you will be able to catch up with the day-to-day trends.
Absolutely, ma'am. Looking forward for some great sessions from you. Thank you. And even
Thank
for
you.
from crack team. Yeah. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Awesome. Thank you guys for being a great audience, and thank you, Rahul, Tuhin, and all other organizers in the society.
Thank you,
Okay.
ma'am.
Good
Thank you
night.
Thank
so
you, ma'am.
much, ma'am.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, ma'am. Good night.
Good night, ma'am.
Good night.
Good night, ma'am.